Continuing on our 200 drawing prompt book, today our drawing prompt is satellite. It's drawing prompt 153, and here's our finished drawing. It's the James Webb Space Telescope in the form of a stamp. If you want to see how we did it, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to do today. Well, I got the target set up here. I just hope I keep our drawing in the target. This is our prompt for today is satellite. And we're going to draw the James Webb Telescope. But I don't know if you can see it. This is a blow-up of a James Webb Telescope postage stamp. So we're going to try to draw a postage stamp, a blown-up postage stamp with the James Webb Telescope on it. I'm doing this job first because it's kind of tedious and precise, and after I have a couple of cups of coffee, my hands might start shaking. What I'm doing here is drawing in the jagged edge you have along a stamp. Well, this stamp is blown up about 100 times, so you can see every last detail. So we have to put everything in. But this is how this kind of thing is done in real life. When they draw a picture of a dollar bill or a stamp or anything, they're gonna they're gonna do it. Even printed circuits, like for computers, they draw them real big and then shrink them down. Now, I've got the squiggly lines in there. And here's the sample picture. You can see those little marks, those little lines. I can see the painting goes into those marks there, so I have to take my layup lines out, and when I color it in, I'll color out to there. Now this outer layup line right here, that's the backing of the stamp, and I'll be leaving that in. So it's got to go around here and clean up my drawing. I think I changed my mind. I'm going to take this outer line out too. It'll look It'll look more like a stamp. So this would be the edge of our stamp. Here's a trick if you don't know it. You can kind of refresh your eraser a little bit with sandpaper. Well, I got the edge of the stamp in. I'm putting the lettering in now. It's not going to be as good as the original, but there's the original. It's going to be white, so I'll have to just draw in around it, and that's really what's going to make it look like a stamp. So I tried to make my letters as neat as possible. Here's tells what kind of stamp it is. It's a USA Forever stamp. I don't have to be real careful with these layup lines because it's going to be covered up with colored pencil, but I don't want them to show through. Okay, let me get started on the actual satellite. The other day we were talking about, I think we were talking about spiders or something, that they could see infrared, but they couldn't see any of the colors in the spectrum. Let's go back to that drawing. Didn't we have a rainbow in one of these drawings? Oh, here's a rainbow. This is the visible spectrum right here. This is violet, and this is red. And these are the colors and the frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum that we can see. The frequencies above the red here are called infrared frequencies, and then from the violet, these are called ultraviolet. The spectrum that's below the violet. Well, this James Webb Space Telescope is designed to see the infrared, the spectrum above the visible range. And the reason that's important is because the infrared will pass through debris and and just space junk, so it's like seeing in the dark. That's like the night vision goggles that military guys wear. Some of them are called starlight goggles, and they just take and they kind of amplify the visible light. But they have to be some visible light to see. Well, with infrared, you can be in a cave with zero visible light, and you can still see anything that's that's radiating infrared. Well, that's what this telescope does. It's got this part right down here is a shield. It's a multi-layered fabric and probably gold coated or silver coated, something really reflective, and several layers of it. And they put that layer between the telescope and the sun so that it blocks out all the, and they also have the thing way, they have the thing way out in space. It's at what's called, I think it's called a Lagrange point. It's an orbit of the Earth that's real far away, and they're checking out the infrared so they can see a long way with this thing. And I think this thing has the mirrors, I think, are hexagons. Is that six-sided? I think it is. Kind of figure out where I want these mirrors. This big array of mirrors is really what makes the thing identifiable. So I've got to include them. And they got to be halfway right. But probably not perfect. If you got one, two, you could spend 3 days on a drawing like this. Well, what I did is I drew these mirrors in and I put these borders between them. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It looks stupid. Well, actually, it didn't look bad. It's just not how the mirrors look. You know what I mean? That's kind of a subtle thing, but I made the mirrors on this side a little bit smaller, foreshortened them a little bit, because the telescope is turned away from us a little bit. So, and it's also curved, concave. So you're going to see more of the mirrors over here, and also you can see the edging here is bigger on the right side than it is on the left, because you can see more of it over here. Okay, now I got to draw in this big thing here. What happens is that the radiation comes in, the infrared comes in, goes against the mirror. It's focused here, and then it's shot back to this receiver right here. Okay, so I want to put that so my receiver, what I need to do is make sure that boom is somewhere on that line. If it's high, if it's lower or higher, it's not going to look right, because your eyes may not understand why, but it's going to look funny. So even though there's no post there, I need to know that this receiver here or this mirror is lined up with the receiver. Okay, now I can put the brackets in. Let me draw this thing. It looks like just a disc. Now this line can go away. When you're drawing mechanical things, you got to think about that stuff, because machines are kind of unforgiving. You draw a tree leaf, every one of them could be different, but not so with mechanical things. They got to make sense to your eye. I'm going to go over this in ink. I'll do the stamp edging, and the lettering after I do the telescope so I don't smear anything. You know I'm getting old because the other day I was thinking, we're probably never going to go. We're probably not going to go to Mars in the next 150 years. And I was thinking, that's what old people used to say about flying airplanes. I think my heartache with it is that it's so expensive. And the benefits, I don't see the benefits. It would probably take 2 years to get to Mars. And you can only launch the rocket at a certain time when everything lines up right. And the same thing with coming back. And then I don't know what you've accomplished. Mars has very thin atmosphere. No protection from radiation. My question is, I guess they could work all that out. They probably already have. Just don't have the money. But, why don't you go to the top of Mount Everest and make a colony, or Antarctica, or Patagonia, or the Sahara Desert, or the outback of Australia. The conditions in those places are infinitely more manageable than going to Mars. And like I say, those are the ideas that old people have. I heard a saying one time that if you want to predict the future, just talk to old scientists, and whatever they think is impossible, it's almost guaranteed that they're wrong. But what's a guy to do? You have an opinion about something. On the one hand, through introspection and logic, you realize you're probably wrong, but you still look at it the same way. And of course, another reason why I think I'm most likely wrong I think I'm talking now through my super ego, which is the part of your brain that kind of manages everything. But one of the things that whenever you make a prediction about something, a fellow ought to go back and look at some of the predictions that people made in like the 20s and 30s, or at the turn of the 20th century, around 1900. Look at some of the predictions that people made for the year 2000, and you can see just how difficult it is to make predictions. So just about any prediction you make, pretty much guaranteed to be wrong. I don't know what the official definition of satellite is, but my definition is that it's any two objects that are, in motion around one another. And I say that because what happens in an orbit is not, for example, the moon, which is a satellite of the Earth, is orbiting around the common mass of the Earth and the moon. Now that center of mass is inside the Earth, but that doesn't always. That's not always the case. In binary stars, they're orbiting one another, and there's actually a space between them, but they're orbiting around the center of their mass. And artificial satellites, the first one was, and I know all this because I was in middle school when all this happened. First one was Sputnik, and then a couple of months later, the U.S. put up a satellite, and this is in 1958. I think our first satellite was called Pioneer, I think. I can't remember. Our second satellite is still in orbit. It's been in orbit now for 65 years. And that's one of the problems that's happening in terms of our satellites. We really depend on them for navigation and communication. But the space around the Earth is not infinite, and it's turned into a giant junkyard about 150 miles above the Earth. I think we think about the sending satellites into outer space. The deal is they're only up about 150, 200 miles above the Earth. Now that's nothing. Just think of a town. The Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference. $150 miles is a drop in the bucket. Now I'll begin to fill some of this in with a little color. Colored pencil, I can't. I'm always making excuses, but I have trouble reproducing dark colors with ink pens. I'm going to put in the black parts of the telescope. I'll put in with the black ink because it's blacker than the black pencil. Changed my mind. I'm going to put the mirrors in first. One of the features that make this telescope so recognizable is the bright mirrors. They're highly reflective. They're about this color too. You know, this drawing here, this little artsy, they got star reflections in there and stuff. But we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it based on other sample pictures. If you Google the James Webb telescope, this is what it'll look like. These highly reflective, bright gold looking mirrors. I'm gonna do the mirrors first because when I put the black in around the edges of the mirror and also these big crossbars here, you know, I want them to be sharp against the background. Well, there we have it. Our prompt for today was satellite. It's prompt 153. And there's our finished drawing. It's a rendering of the Webb Space Telescope in the form of a stamp. Let's see what tomorrow's prompt is. Tomorrow's prompt is something melting, and that'll be prompt 154. Hope to see you then.